Folks, welcome in to sportsbookreview.com. Week 17 NFL action right here on the opening lines. I was going to say closing lines here because we are technically closing the season, but so much information to actually go over. And as always, we are a live show, breaking news right away. Cooper Kupp, the Rams wide receiver, has been placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. Now, keep in mind, we don't know if he tested positive for the virus, so he might be back in a couple of days. If not, we'll keep an eye on that. But a lot of things to go around. That is a great precursor to this show. Welcome in. We'll go over each and every game, but it is Tuesday. We love to have some guests. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Larry from WagerWeb, and also with my co-host, as usual, Kyle Purviance. Before we get down to the business here at hand, it's coming towards the end of the season. We're not stopping just because it's Week 17. We're going to have playoff action right up all the way through to the Super Bowl. So thank you guys for tuning in. And also the 77,900 people that have hit subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. Thank you for doing that, turning your notification on, coming in here to say hello. But Kyle, Week 17, the information has been flowing from last night. Exciting times.
Ooh, yeah, it's going to be a crazy week. And how about this? We get back-to-back weeks. The people's champ, Larry from WagerWeb. We get to talk the Dolphins, which is a hot topic this week. A lot of stuff to go over there, what's going on with the Dolphins. So I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. We're seeing you here for the first time last night. So I hope, Larry, you had a great Christmas and a holiday. Week 17, it's going to be a wild ride all week. I'm excited to talk some Dolphins and some spots here with Larry as well. So.
Yeah, let's have some fun here doing this. If you guys miss anything, if you need to talk NFL, if you need write-ups, you need picks, you need plays, you need video, it's all right below there. Click that link, sbrpicks.com/NFL to make yourself a better NFL handicapper. But I want to get started right away because I know down in Larry's world, it's a holiday weekend for sure and a chance to extend their actual season, being those Miami Dolphins here. Week 17 heading up to Buffalo. And I like to preface this, Larry, by starting it out. If this was last year in 2019, you'd have a packed stadium in Buffalo. It's going to be cold weather. The Bills would have a chance to clinch home field advantage, at least with the bye, up till they play, theoretically, Kansas City. But now, no fans in the stands. Do the Buffalo Bills do you a solid here at the holiday and say, you know what? We're going to rest a couple starters here. And down come the Dolphins into the playoffs, Larry. It's Week 17. The Dolphins are in it. Unbelievable.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, the line doesn't show that happening yet. I've been looking at the line all day. It opened at 5.5. It's 3.5 right now. I haven't seen anything about them resting any players. No fans, which is a good thing. It's going to be 30, 32 degrees, no snow, which is another good thing for the Dolphins. Yeah. I think they need a running attack. I think they can give the Bills a good game if they give Tua the chance to do some play action and to have some time to throw the ball downfield. Last week, he was throwing outside passes, maybe 5-7 yards. Really wasn't getting time to throw downfield. And when Fitzpatrick came in, that's all he did. So it just makes you wonder, what's the deal with the offensive line? They give Fitz more time in the pocket than they did Tua. But I'm glad that Flores made the decision right after the game. He said that Tua was starting. That's out of the way. And like we talked about last week, Fitz is there if you need him. And, man, I'll tell you something. I'll never see another pass the way he threw that last pass. We'll never see that again, man. That was just incredible.
Yeah, and, it feels like I ask you about Tua and Fitzpatrick every time I see you on the show. And to me, you're talking about right now the number one ranked defense in the NFL belongs to your Miami Dolphins. That's absolutely incredible. And they need a miracle from Ryan Fitzpatrick. Do you really believe Tua gives them a better chance to win? Because I think it's absolutely insane. If you need to win this game, it's clear to me that Ryan Fitzpatrick should be your quarterback. What do you think on the Tua? Are you still sold on Tua, or do you hope that you see Ryan Fitzpatrick in this game?
I think he'll start Tua, but I don't think he'll wait that long to put Fitz in. I think the cold weather is going to be a factor. It's 30 degrees is really cold, and 10-mile-an-hour winds, that probably puts it at 25 degrees. I think after a couple of outings, if he's not doing well and not moving the ball well, that's what Fitz is there. He's used to playing in the cold. He's played in cold weather. So I still see you got to give Tua the shot. He is the quarterback. But I think a couple outings, if he's not doing well, I think Fitz comes in. And he just had more time in the pocket. He was able to put the ball downfield. And that's when you could use your play action and freeze the defense. And with Tua, they don't have that. They don't have a play action. He's rolling either right or left, and he's not staying in the pocket long enough to throw the ball downfield.
Right.
I actually, Kyle, just to compound off that, I actually like what the Miami Dolphins are doing with Brian Flores, because I think we can both be honest. We're not going to win a Super Bowl, but it's invaluable the experience that Tua's getting in these big games. Even if he can't win the game, you're letting him start in that environment in a true playoff atmosphere. But I do think you might go to Fitz. But also, as we take a look at, Wild Week 17 that's coming up, and you got to have your Twitter feed going left and right at this time, because teams are announcing starters, who's in, who's out, who's not playing, guys going on the COVID list left and right. Larry, when we take a look this week, and specifically with this game with the Buffalo Bills, let's just say, Tua does play the first half, and you're going to be scoreboard watching. Let's just say the Buffalo Bills are saying, hey, let's go out here and play, because even if the Steelers lose, the Buffalo Bills don't have to win their game. They would still be the second seed. So if you're letting Tua play and it gets to the half, there might be one of those scenarios where the Bills play the first half, then rest in the second half and say, man, look at that. Cleveland Browns are up 24-10 over Pittsburgh. They're going to close them out. Let's put everybody on the bench. It's very advantageous, but I do like what they're actually doing here by letting Tua get that playoff atmosphere and certainly starting to go. Now, in the AFC, Larry, go ahead. Yep, go ahead. Yep.
I think he needs it. And, whatever happens, the best thing out of this deal, if they keep going, that's great. If not, we got 2 first-round and 2 second-round picks next round. And, a Dolphin team that might make the playoffs and have maybe anywhere from the 3rd to the 6th pick in the first round from Texas is a good thing. And I think that's just, things are just going to work in the Dolphins' way. But I'm hoping they go out there. I'm hoping the Bills go out there, put their guys out there, and let's have a great game. Let's have a good, solid football game.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because most fans would say, hey, is it great to make the playoffs? Great, but we'd rather have a high draft pick. The Dolphins get to make the playoffs and get an even better draft pick from Houston. So it's a win.
We've seen that.
It's been amazing. I mean, they're going to look at like a top 3 draft pick while they're actually playing for something and heading into the offseason. As we look at the playoff seedings, we know Kansas City clinched in the AFC. A lot still up for grabs in the NFC, particularly at the top. The Green Bay Packers, New Orleans Saints, and Seattle Seahawks. There's a whole, algorithm here, how each one of these teams can probably end up in the top seed. But just looking from a perspective that we haven't seen in the past, no bye weeks, of course, for the second place team, which you usually get. So now you see in the AFC, you're going to leave out a really good football team, because the Miami Dolphins here sitting at 10-5, probably a year ahead of schedule. Still, based on NFL terms, if you're 10-5 heading into week 17, you're a really good football team. It looks like the Colts are going to have to be watching the scoreboard more than anybody else. And to me, you just figure all throughout the season, watching the Colts, to me, Larry, that's a playoff team, and they're going to be left at the altar when the Washington football team is going to stumble into the playoffs and probably get bounced by Tampa Bay round 1. Looking at these seedings, amazing stuff here going on, Larry.
You need a supercomputer to figure this one
out.
Yes, you do. I mean, it's just a little crazy. The Dolphins threw everybody out of whack in the AFC with the win the other night, because everyone was assuming what was going to happen, and that changed. The AFC South is up for grabs. Like you said, whoever loses that game is going to have a great record and might be out. Indianapolis has one of the best defenses in the NFL. So that the AFC is still and still you have the Ravens that are on the outside looking in, and they've been playing great football. So it's going to be a fight to the finish. The NFC, a different story altogether. I mean, if Dallas wins and Washington loses, you're going to have Andy Dalton and the Cowboys winning that division, and I know that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. So yeah. Green Bay, Chicago. I think Chicago's going to go out there and show everyone what kind of a team they are. But it's still up for grabs. Usually by this time we know exactly where everyone's going to be and who's going to play, and we have to wait one more week.
Man, it's going to be a crazy finish. And I mean, the Bears, look at their strength of victory. That's 333 win percentage. Can you imagine a world where we have the Bears and the Cowboys in the playoffs? Oh my goodness. But when you look at those top teams, let's assume Green Bay holds on to the top spot and is able to beat Chicago. Who do you see that can actually beat Kansas City in the AFC? And in the NFC, who do you think can go into Lambeau and beat Green Bay, assuming they hold on to that top spot?
In the AFC, I think everyone can agree. And when you see players every week putting their money down, and the Bills probably are the only ones in the AFC that are really going to give KC a run for their money. The Bills, I mean, no one talks about their quarterback being an MVP. He's got some great numbers this year. And I honestly think the Bills, out of all those teams in the AFC, will give them the big fight. And I'm going to throw my Dolphins in there. We picked off Mahomes 3 times last time. So who knows what could happen there. And the Ravens aren't in yet. But if the Ravens get in, the Ravens right now are probably the best team in football. They've won maybe 4 or 5 in a row. Their defense, their running game is incredible. But, I really see Buffalo as being right up there with Kansas City as the one team that can give them a run for their money. The Steelers need a running game, and they don't have it. And you need a running game to win. Exactly. So I think Buffalo will probably give them a run for their money.
Yeah, actually, even on Sunday, when you take a look at the Steelers, which they really woke up in the second half, getting pounded. The opening drive of the second half was 21-7. Indianapolis goes down, kicks a field goal, and we're all making fun of the Steelers. And they're going to lose, their 5 games in the regular season because they'll probably lose next week to the Browns, and then of course go into the playoffs and lose again. They wake up, but you're right, Larry. They only had 30 yards rushing in that football game. The passing game worked out. In the NFC, as we take a look, Kyle and I have talked about this one team throughout the year, and it looks like it's going off the rails at the wrong time, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. Now with the Cooper Kupp, now being added to the COVID-19 list, you're down 2 of your top 3 running backs, and John Walford is going to get a start to try to get you into the playoffs. So some teams going wrong in those directions for the Green Bay Packers, who let's just say they do beat the Chicago Bears and head into the playoffs as the 1 seed. In the NFC, what's a team that you could possibly look at knocking off the Green Bay Packers up in Lambeau Field, Larry?
Man, no disrespect to the NFC, but I only see Tampa Bay and New Orleans really giving the Packers a run for their money. I mean, if you look at the other teams, I don't see them doing any damage and getting there to the end against Green Bay. Tampa Bay's played well these last couple games. Brady's had some incredible outings, and the Saints, they're going to be there. So, no disrespect, but, whoever wins that NFC East is not going to go very far.
No.
And, I don't really think too much of the other teams. It's what's out there, who's playing good right now. Saints have a great running game. Tampa Bay's playing very well right now, and man, I'll tell you something. Aaron Rodgers, to me, is the MVP. He's the one running that Green Bay team, and he's gotten them to where they are right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually think Green Bay is very overrated. They're just lucky that they play in such a weak conference, outside of and they're really lucky that Jared Goff is hurt and things are happening with the Rams. Because if you look at that defense, I think that defense could give Aaron Rodgers a lot of trouble.
In the cold, yeah.
In the cold. But now how are you supposed to, put up any points with John Walford and Malcolm Brown and who else, Van Jefferson at wide receiver if Cooper Kupp's out. But let's shift it. We've talked about the good teams now. We know who's good. Let's talk about the bad teams. And there's some coaches I cannot believe still have their job in the NFL. So the games are all played on Sunday. Who do we think? Who's your money on? I don't know. Maybe WagerWeb has this prop up. Who's the first coach fired on Black Monday? Who do you see? Or maybe even Sunday. Maybe they're fired even before Monday.
I don't think it goes to Monday. I think it happens Sunday night, to be honest. Yeah. Listen, I mean, as much as I am a Dolphin fan and I don't really care for the Jets that much, Adam Gase cannot be there next year. No. There's just no way. He has not proven anything with them, and even when he left the Dolphins, I think that he will be first to go, and I think Varun from the Jaguars, he's not going to be there either. And the thing with the Jaguars is I think they let him go, and that's going to be a great coaching position for a coach to walk into that first pick in the NFL draft. And the offensive coordinator for Kansas City, Bieniemy?
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy. Yep,
sure. I think that he is probably one of the best prospects right now for a head coaching job. He's been passed over a couple of times. I don't know why. And I think he would be great in Jacksonville with that number 1 pick. Look how he's worked with Mahomes. I think he could do the same thing with Trevor Lawrence if he decides to come out in the draft. But I think the Jets and the Jaguars go first. There's quite a few more after that, but if the Jets keep Gase another year, I don't know. It doesn't.
It can't happen.
It'll happen, man.
It can't happen.
Yeah, the NFC dumped a couple guys already. So when you take a look at the NFC, not really anybody that we're probably looking at is going to be fired, but you can always look at the AFC. The only other one that will be interesting here, and it's also, when you win when the pressure is off, and that's Anthony Lynn for the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll see if he sticks around at the end of the season, but there are a couple interesting tags here that we like to take a look at in the AFC specifically to get fired on Black Monday. And don't feel bad for those coaches. A lot of them have a 5-year deal. They get fired after 2 years, and they get 15 to 20 million wired into their account later that night. So not really a true Black Monday like most of us working people would be looking at. So don't shed a little bit of tear. Let's get to some Week 17 action because it's a full card. The one thing I like, Larry, is that the NFL does every team a solid, which wasn't in the past. Sometimes they would play a game at 1 o'clock. This team would win. The team at 4 o'clock doesn't have to play. Now they try to match each and every team up. Which games are you looking at? Because obviously we know you're going to like the Miami Dolphins game going against the Buffalo Bills a lot from a fan perspective. But give me a game or two that you're looking at this weekend. Says, you know what, we got some action on this game, but this is a really intriguing game for me to actually watch, sit back, and relax with.
You know what? Believe it or not, there is so much action on the Browns right now. It's crazy. It is crazy. I think the line right now is 9.5 or something like that. I know Big Ben's not playing, and Cleveland needs to win this game. But, I mean, hardly no action on the Steelers at all. Everybody's looking at the Browns, and they get back to all the receivers on Thursday. So it should make a big difference for them. I like that game. And, man, believe it or not, I really like the Packers and the Bears. I think it's a must-win for the Bears. And that's 50-50 down the middle right now. Both sides even. Players are going even on both sides on that game. So that should be a really interesting game. And Washington, Philadelphia. I just need to see and want to see Philly knock off Washington. I mean, Philly, I thought they were going to do a lot better last week. I think their quarterback of the future is Hurts.
Yeah.
I think he did a really good job. I think he ran into some issues last week. And I think Philly upsets Washington. I know Alex Smith is coming back. Who knows how healthy he's going to be. And I think they open up the door for the Cowboys to take that division. But a lot of money even on this game also. So players are looking at some of these games going 50-50, which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And how about this? I'm just looking. This has got to be the shortest line for the Jets all year, right? They're only 3-point dogs. So I might be a little interested in that, getting some pain. The Jets have been making us some money all year. But I want to talk about Cleveland just a little bit here. This is ridiculous now. 10-point spread on Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh can go in there and beat Cleveland with Mason Rudolph. I don't think they want Cleveland in the playoffs. You look at the Browns' strength of victory, 37%. The Cleveland Browns are frauds. Am I crazy, Larry? Are you going to be mad when I convince everyone to put their money on the Steelers and take that money away from the books?
Let's see what happens. And don't forget the last time that quarterback started against the Browns, that was that big fight at the end where they hit each other with the helmets.
Got bonked on the
whole
head.
deal. So there's going to be a little animosity in this game. I think they're going to play it really tough. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think Cleveland covers, but I do think they pull it out at the end. I mean, they got all the receivers back. Pittsburgh has no running game whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
it'll definitely be an interesting
throw the whole game.
Yeah.
No, it'll be, and we'll see who else sits on because we only know Big Ben. If you have T.J. Watt sitting down, Villanueva sitting down, that completely changes the dynamics of this game.
More decisions later on in the week, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Line might get bigger.
Absolutely. Lines bigger, big things going on at WagerWeb, Larry. It's the holiday season, college basketball, NBA's tipped off. The NFL playoffs are coming up. You got the college football playoff this weekend. What good things are happening down at WagerWeb that we can look out for?
Guys, I'll tell you what, we got a holiday promo exclusively for SBR customers. All right, we're having a 20% cash bonus. That includes a weekly rebate on your sports volume. So win or lose, you're going to get 1% back every Monday of the volume from the week before. That's a great deal. It's for SBR customers only. And I'm hoping that, it helps them out a little bit. It's nice to get a little rebate every Monday afternoon from your week before plays. And personally, I want to thank you two guys. I want to wish you guys a happy New Year's. I appreciate you giving us WagerWeb a platform on your show. It's really much appreciated. And I want to also wish Happy New Year's to my WagerWeb family. They worked so hard this year. It's been a tough year starting in March for all of us. Management has been there for us to make sure all our customers were well taken care of. So my hat's off to the WagerWeb family, and Happy New Year's to you guys.
Awesome.
You too,
Before we
brother.
let you go, by the way, down at WagerWeb, Kyle, giving back cash back opportunities. WagerWeb doing more than the U.S. government doing for its own citizens.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I think that's really cool too. I love that, and we've loved having you on. The People's Champ, everyone's favorite here. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it. It's not something I do, but I appreciate the platform for myself and for WagerWeb.
Awesome stuff. Thanks again, Larry, for joining us. Hope your holiday is very merry as well. Busy weekend, but a fun weekend. Have a good day, Larry. Thanks again for joining us today. There we go, Kyle. Once again, as you like to say, the people's champion, Larry. Fantastic stuff here. So always good to keep involved and get a pulse on, what's happening on the other side of the aisle. But we have so many things flowing in now. Just looking on Twitter here, Kyle, the Titans have placed both Stephen Gostkowski yesterday on the COVID list and also their all-pro punter today. So if you're betting and you're trying to jump these lines, and oh my goodness, I love the Rams, who are now going to be down 2 running backs, their quarterback and their wide receiver. It looks like wild times in the NFL here, Kyle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This week especially, we've been saying it all year with the COVID stuff and everything. It's really difficult to try to jump on some of those early values early in the week. This week even more so. I was even up texting Donnie late last night, like, hey, something looks wrong here. And he's like, no. Everything's going to be crazy. And it is going to be a crazy week. There's really only a few games where you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting here. And then, again, the COVID thing could come in and rip those apart as well. So it's really important to have your head on a swivel this week. And I think you wait till later in the week to make some of these bets. You just have to.
Yeah, you're so right on this, because we're going to go line by line, game by game here in just a few moments and go over that stuff. But, your text last night is right, because you're factoring in something in the past that teams have fought tooth and nail to get to that 2 seed in the bye week. And now you're taking a step back, because we did the show last night and I'm still under the impression like, hey, if I'm Buffalo, I'm evaporating the Miami Dolphins this weekend and taking the 2 seed. And now you see, before they even have to make a decision, Chicago's like, you can't, it's not college. We have 100 players. Starter's still going to have to play, but you can bench some of the key guys, which again waves the white flag to your locker room. It's not so much that these guys aren't preparing and they're going to play, but look at the message deep down when you say, hey, Pittsburgh, we're on to Cleveland. By the way, a lot of our good guys aren't going to play, but we still expect you to win this game. You go in your back of your head like, dude, we ain't expected to win this game. And we're resting up for the playoffs here. And now you see what Buffalo can do, which has ramifications all the way down. But we are going to get to that in just a few moments. I see you out there in the chat box, Jason, Darren, Mark, Vincent, Sabino out here, Jay Peach. We're going to hit it and hit it hard, but let's put a quick little bow here on week 16 really quickly. Winners and losers from this past weekend. Kyle, I'll start with the winner, and it's a team that's benching players this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers getting up off of the carpet at the half and basically getting carpet bombed in that game, winning it, getting the division done, because they lose that game to Indianapolis. They're going to lose again. I don't care if they had all their starters. I thought the Cleveland Browns were going to get them in week 17 anyway, but they saved themselves, get a little bit back into the good graces. I'll put them as a winner from last week, finally getting back up the carpet after that 11-0 start.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I thought that was an impressive comeback. And another winner for me has got to be the Seattle Seahawks. You come out there, you beat down the Rams, you secure the division, you give yourself a mathematical shot with all the weird tiebreakers to get that number 1 seed. I thought that was an impressive win by the Seahawks. And you're right. I saw that, I believe it was a tweet by you during the game on Sunday. That Seattle defense has really improved over the last month of the season, making Seattle a pretty dangerous team. They get that running game going, and Russell Wilson in a close game. So I thought the Seattle Seahawks were a big winner this week.
Yeah, quick one on a loser here. And this is straight personal, because sometimes I just like to get personal and hate on people. Not my team loser of the week. My loser of the week, Robbie Gould for the 49ers. Your turn, Kyle. Go ahead.
Robbie Gould and the 49ers were losers for me this week, too, because they won that game. And, I told everyone and their mama, as we like to say, that the Cardinals were my pick of the week. I think the Cardinals were the big losers of the week, along with the Rams. You could talk about the Rams, but just an abysmal performance against a third string quarterback, 4th string running back. You lose your quarterback. He gets smashed at the end of the game. No idea if he's going to play. Now you have to win and get some help or something here to get into the playoffs. The NFC Cardinals, big time losers. And yeah, of course, the kicker on the other side.
Yeah, I can't wait to go over that game. Also, when you take a look at Kansas City now, some teams can flip the switch on, but in a NFL scenario where it's basically one and done, it's not like, hey, we're the Lakers, and if we come up lame in game one, we still got 6 more games to go. Kansas City looks bored right now. There's no way, any shape or form, they should be at home against the Atlanta Falcons. And an interception with 2 minutes to go in the end zone, I don't know how in the hell it was even dropped. But if that's caught, they lose that football game. Are they bored? Can they turn it on? Are we worried about Kansas City, Kyle?
It's a little bit strange. I've been thinking about that a lot today, thinking about teams. We kind of asked Larry about it. Who could beat Kansas City? And, Buffalo absolutely stands out. You look at a team like Tennessee who has this great offense, but this horrible, horrible defense.
Yeah.
But if Kansas City comes out bored and plays like they did against Atlanta, that Kansas City defense isn't any good either. And if they give up 40 points to another team, you're not going to be able to just turn this on late against some of these better teams. You put yourself in a hole. Do I still think they're the absolute favorite to win the whole thing? Of course. Do I think they're the best team in football? I really do. But they seem bored, and they better be careful. We've seen teams do this before where you just try to turn it on a little too late, and then the next thing you know, we're watching the 9-7 Giants in the Super Bowl. Kansas City needs to pick it up because they have been absolutely underwhelming, especially the last 6 weeks of the year, and they can't seem to cover a spread. They're desperately, fighting to win games at the end against lesser opponents. Kansas City needs to wake up, but I think you're right. They certainly seem bored right now.
No, and look, they were bored in the playoffs too last year, getting down 24 points, going to the Super Bowl down double digits. They seem to be able to flip the switch, but you can't continuously do that. But it's interesting to see because as we look at the Buffalo Bills, a runaway freight train, it looks like, heading into the playoffs. Kansas City, even though we know how good they are, sort of steady and playing close games and, just looking forward to the playoffs because a team that won it last year bored and just saying, hey, regular season's a lot of fun. And look, they only lost one game, or whatever. So they're getting into the playoffs. And we'll see if they can get back to it. Pick 6 for Week 16. Put me on a record. 3-3, hit my double down game, and the merry-go-round keeps going around. How did you finish up in your Pick 6 contest this week?
Yep, 3-3 as well. And what's frustrating for me is I look at the top 10. 10th place has 40 losses. That's exactly what I have as well. I'm in 72nd place, but I've got 5 pushes this year. Very frustrating. But yeah, another 3-3 week. Hopefully I can have a good Week 17 and maybe jump into that top 20. That's my goal for this week.
Yep, finished it out strong last week of the Pick 6 contest. And, of course, if you get in, no, you cannot go 6-0 and win the entire Pick 6 contest, but you certainly can win your fair share of cash for the week. So click on that link, sbrpicks.com/NFL, and go to the contest page where you can still sign up and have some fun for Week 17 and follow along with us throughout the playoffs. It's time to get it started, about a half hour to peel through these games. A lot of information. So the great part about today is not so much of a capping from me and Kyle here of, strategy and who wants to win, but more or less what these teams need, who's in and who's out, and what we think is actually going to be on the field on Sunday. Let's get it started here. Keep in mind, again, in rotational order, not by time frame, which is why we're actually going to start at 101, 102 with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington football team, which actually has been flexed into the night game. Why? I have no idea. Like the Bears and the Packers aren't put into that game, but neither here nor there. I guess they just had to pick one of these teams and said, hey, well, Chicago might not need it at night if somebody else loses or whatever the case may be. So they put the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington football team here. Normally, myself, I'd look at this game, Kyle, right? Because we don't know what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to do. But I assume they are going to sit some key guys that are banged up and injured. I don't know if Derek Barnett should come back in this game after missing last week. I don't know if Josh Sweat with a wrist injury is going to want to play this week. I don't know if Fletcher Cox, who had a stinger injury, he's going to come back this week. And also Jordan Mailata, one of the tackles that plays left tackle, has been playing it fairly well, got a concussion last week. Are you rushing him back to play in a meaningless football game, which you probably would rather lose anyway? But then I flip over, Kyle, to the Washington side. Is Terry McLaurin going to show up? Their offense is horrendous. So if the Eagles, against that Washington defense, which is very good, which should be able to wreck the Eagles' offensive line, but it's not Carson Wentz back there. They have a kid that can get away from the pass rush. Washington's offense is so bad that I look at this game and it's hilarious. Washington wins and they're in against a horrendous Eagles football team. Kyle, the line is 1.5. And it should be there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. We don't know if Alex Smith, they're saying they're optimistic Alex Smith could play. But if he misses, we're getting the XFL or Tyler Heineke. I mean, my God, and you're right. It's a high ankle sprain for Terry McLaurin. So even if he does play, he's not even going to be close to 100%. I'll be really surprised if he even plays. He might try. He's a tough young kid, gets smacked around a lot. One thing I'm kind of watching in this game is if the Cowboys win, I would say the Eagles and Eagles fans probably hate the Cowboys a little bit more than the Giants, right? I'm assuming here it's probably pretty close. But if the Cowboys beat the Giants, are the Eagles a little bit more motivated to say, you know what? Let's just let Washington get in here. We can't stand the Dallas Cowboys. Let's ease off a little bit and let Washington. I mean, it's going to be a weird game at night. I don't have any faith in Washington, especially if Heineke starts. Right now, I think I'm favoring the Eagles at home to close out the season on Sunday Night Football.
It's again, they have nothing to play for. There's going to be no fans. But if you had a competent quarterback, which Washington doesn't have, and some wide receivers, all you do is go 5 wide and bomb it on that secondary. Yeah. Washington struggles like throwing the ball forward, let alone completing.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting one here. We'll get, obviously, on Thursday, have much more here. And I believe Thursday is New Year's Eve, so a special edition right here of the NFL show. Let's keep going. 103-104, Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Very quick cap here for us. Obviously, we know Indy needs to win and needs to get some help along the way to get in. I don't think Jacksonville secured the top seed. They're going to play hard. No, they're not. Trust me. Indianapolis is preparing for this football game to blow them out. The Jacksonville Jaguars players have already rented U-Haul trucks and are moving out of town and going to the Bahamas. They'll blow them out. No real reason to spend on it. It's a 14-point spread. Would be surprised if this game then doesn't end up in that 34-17 range. I think Indianapolis blows the doors off Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah, must-win game for Indianapolis. You mentioned it. They lose like every tiebreaker to the other playoff teams. It's really unfortunate for them, so they need to win and someone else to lose. Luckily, we talked about it. The NFL does a really good job of, putting Tennessee in the same time frame, et cetera. Some of those other teams they need to lose. So they know they're playing for their playoff lives. They should beat the brakes off of Jacksonville. Jacksonville left themselves for dead a long time. As soon as the Jets won that game, Jacksonville, they've been in cruise control all year, but they really went into cruise control after the Jets lost. No competitive fight in that team whatsoever. By Doug Marrone, by Jacksonville, Colts win big.
Yeah, by the way, Sean, MCK says Heineke looks better than Haskins. He does look better than Haskins because he looks like he's competent and at least is able to throw the football downfield and acts crazy. Like, I might think I like Heineke better in this game than I do Alex Smith because Alex Smith doesn't give you a forward pass and he doesn't give you any running options at this point. At least Heineke can run around and make some plays, but we'll see how that turns out. 105-106, one of my favorite games of the day, 425, Green Bay and Chicago. I see the line dropping, opens up at 5.5, and now I see 4.5 at some outlets here at SBRodds.com. I understand we're happy about what Chicago has done. I've won money on Chicago. Their team totals are fantastic. But let's be real about who they're beating and who they're competing against. I would feel much different about this game, obviously, if Green Bay had everything wrapped up and had nothing to play for. You saw the sarcasm in Aaron Rodgers' voice Sunday night after they detonated the Titans in that game. You guys don't believe in us? Don't think we can beat anybody? You want to come through Lambeau? We'll see what happens here. Packers are winning this football game. Mitchell Trubisky is not going toe-to-toe in a situational game where Green Bay needs it and is coming away with the victory. I like the way the Bears defense is playing, yes, but look at their past 5 or 6 games that they played. Who have they played? I know, the last time Mitchell Trubisky started on his comeback here, he scored 25 points. Green Bay put up 40 on Chicago. Touchdown, 31-20, my final score in this game. No way we're going head-to-head and Trubisky is beating Aaron Rodgers in a game that Aaron Rodgers needs, A, in the cold weather, B, on grass, and in Chicago where there's no fans there. Give me Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay, I think, puts it away here and secures the number 1 seed. And look, I'm not a big believer in Green Bay. I'm one of those people who's been saying it all year, but everything has aligned up right. And the one thing for Green Bay I do believe in, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely on fire this year. He's by far, in my opinion, the MVP of the league. I think he puts the stamp on that. There's no way he loses the number 1 seed to Mitchell Trubisky in this game. Bears do not make the playoffs. They don't belong in the playoffs. Bears lose. Packers win by more than a touchdown. Give me Green Bay in this game.
Yeah, they still need some help because it's interesting. Now, that game got so much more odd, if you can say that. We'll talk about in a few moments here, Arizona and Los Angeles, that the Bears do have a pathway to victory to get into the playoffs even without a win, but it's simple. Sometimes I don't like to outsmart myself in football. I got Aaron Rodgers. You got Mitchell Trubisky. I really need this game for Green Bay. Let's go. Green Bay Packers. Let's keep moving here. One of the games we don't have to spend a lot of time on, Dallas and the New York Giants. Andy Dalton and the Dallas Cowboys come to town. When I look at this game, I say, all right. Again, keep it simple. Dallas. Andy Dalton's playing well at quarterback. He's got some running backs, and he's got some dominant wide receivers. They can put up points. I flip it over to Joe Judge, who, again, doesn't know the time of year, the standings, the time during the game, or the actual score. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys because they can throw a forward pass when it looks like the New York Giants are playing like it's sometime in 1984 in high school football where you grind out the clock and you hand the ball to Otis Anderson and you play really good defense. In 2020, it doesn't work. Giants don't win this game. Give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, and you're probably going to see look, I can't stand the Cowboys, and I think Mike McCarthy's a god-awful coach. I've gone on record many times. But Joe Judge, we're going to see some of this, goofy, everyone run off the field at the same time and run everyone in. And, I don't know if they're going to have like a pep rally assembly before the game. It's so stupid, the stuff that Joe Judge does. I can't stand it. I think you're right. Cowboys, just more weapons. Not a good enough pass rush for the Giants to really give Andy Dalton trouble. And we saw him, that's banged up a good Eagles pass rush he faced last week, and he just threw it all over that team. Think they're clicking at the right time. Dallas should win this game by about a touchdown. I like the Cowboys in this one.
No, and then I agree with you there. And by the way, surprise, Dwayne Haskins did clear waivers. Nobody wanted to claim that guy. Amazing stuff. So he's free to sign with anybody he wants in the National Football League. Let's keep moving here. Pittsburgh and Cleveland announced earlier today Big Ben will not play in this game. Mike Tomlin saying, hey, I want to get him rested and airmail him into the playoffs. So, look, we do know he has some issues with his knee that went unreported. An extra week rest does make sense for him, but we'll see who else is out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do they rest Villanueva, as I said, your best left tackle? Do they rest Pouncey at center? Do they rest some of the big boys on the defensive line like T.J. Watt, maybe sit down Joe Hayden and your other, starting cornerback on the other side, or Minkah Fitzpatrick? Again, the NFL, you can't bench everybody, but you can bench enough guys where you're probably not going to put forward your best effort. But I don't agree with that 10-point line at this point. But I am waiting to see in this game. I do think the Cleveland Browns win this game. I thought they were going to win anyway with a healthy Pittsburgh Steelers team, as long as they got, no more COVID injuries and they're at home and really needing this game where the Steelers won't need it, as opposed to what we might have gotten last week where, both teams really need it heading into the playoffs and maybe a division winner is up for grabs. Not a lot of faith in Pittsburgh, but I do want to see who plays, because if we're going to get those young wide receivers, we're going to get Mason Rudolph in a decent offensive line. Look, we're not talking about the 1975 Pittsburgh Steelers on defense on the opposite side showing up for Cleveland. It'll be an interesting one. And deep down inside, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns hate each other. The backups will play hard. I still think the Cleveland Browns are going to get the victory here.
Yeah, I honestly think Pittsburgh could find a way to win this game. I don't think the 10-point line is way too big for me. I got Pittsburgh to cover there. I will say according to Tomlin today, you can take NFL coach speak for what it is, saying besides Ben and maybe another player, this is an NFL team that will go play. So that's Mike Tomlin's official statement. But you're right, we got to wait to see who plays. If they're resting their entire offensive line, defensive line, then it becomes a little bit more dicey because Cleveland has so much to play for, and Pittsburgh, quite frankly, you mentioned it. You're seeing both teams say, hey, we don't really care about the 2 seed. We don't get the bye. Home field doesn't really matter without the fans. The two cities have similar weather, so it's not that big of a deal if you play Buffalo in Buffalo or you play them in Pittsburgh. They don't seem to care. Kind of want to wait and see here, but I think the line's too big. No matter what happens here, I'm taking Pittsburgh to cover by 10 because I promise you, Mason Rudolph and the rest of that team hate the Cleveland Browns. And you know what the Cleveland Browns are, right? They're frauds. They don't belong in the playoffs. They'll probably get in, but I like Pittsburgh to cover.
No, and I'm on the same wavelength with you because you take a look at Mason Rudolph again, obviously a backup quarterback, not a great quarterback, but he does have multiple starts in the NFL under his belt. So it's not as if you're going to get a guy that's sitting out like we're going to be talking about maybe 2 completely new starters in that Arizona and Los Angeles Rams game.
Yeah, exactly. He's got some experience. He's capable enough. And if Pittsburgh rolls out their defense, they can give Baker Mayfield problems. We've seen when he's under pressure and when it's a big moment, he sort of falls a little short. This is not the Tennessee Titans defense they're facing. So it just really depends on what sort of effort we're going to see from the defense of Pittsburgh. And hopefully we know more by Thursday, and we'll definitely know more by our Sunday morning show as well.
No, you're certainly right. Let's keep going here. 111-112. Don't need a lot of time on this one. Tennessee needs this football game. If they win, they will clinch the AFC South, going up against Houston, who last week lost to an abysmal Cincinnati team. So when I look at Cincinnati going up and down the field on Houston, I can only imagine an angry Tennessee football team coming in a dome in perfect weather conditions. That over-under is 56.5. I don't know if I want to go with that, but I do not know how Houston is going to stop Tennessee. They'll be in the 30s. They win this football game. It's only a matter of can Houston score in the last 5 minutes, and will they care in order to cover that number? I'm going to keep this with Tennessee here. Would have liked to get the 7, but it's showing 7.5 early in the week. Tennessee wins this game fairly comfortably here. I just want to see who's in or who's out, because there still isn't up in the air should they play Deshaun Watson after getting banged up in the last minute of that Cincinnati game.
Yeah, that elbow injury. So you might see A.J. McCarron slinging it for Houston. One thing I'll say, I don't know if Tennessee's defense can stop any quarterback in the league. Their defense is so bad. I mean, it is embarrassingly bad. But they should put up 1,000,000 points against Houston. They should push 60 in this game if they needed to. I expect Tennessee to blow out Houston. And hopefully Houston does the right thing here by Deshaun Watson and gives them the week off. There's absolutely no reason. I mean, you've already destroyed this season of his career. You've traded away all their good players, all their draft capital. Do the guy solid and let him rest for a week. Again, it'll be interesting to see what they do there, but right now you got to take Tennessee.
Yep, Darren Cole says, smash that like button, peeps. You would be paying for this info back in the day. That's right. Coming on here for the people, giving you the information, setting you up for a cash-in weekend in Week 17. So thank you guys for the thumbs up here. Another quick one here. New Orleans and Carolina, 113-114. Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater. New Orleans needs this still as an option for at least the 2-seed, possibility at the number 1 seed if we do know if the Packers do lose to the Chicago Bears. I see this line 6.5 across the board. I like the way Carolina is playing football. But again, you're talking about a team that's playing for their coach, and it's the end of the year. U-Haul trucks are showing up in Carolina. New Orleans is making plans for the playoffs. If it's under a touchdown, I'm trusting New Orleans here to get that victory.
Yeah, this one will be interesting. It feels like it should be like a live betting spot, right? Because they're going to be scoreboard watching here. If they look up and Green Bay is beating Chicago by 30 points and they play at the same time. So, they go into the locker room and, it's 21-0 Green Bay, and they're fighting out with Carolina. They say, okay, look, Green Bay hasn't wrapped up. We're pulling Breeze out in the second half. We're going to rest our guys. That's really the kind of scenarios you're looking at here. Teams are going to react to what's happening, especially a team like New Orleans who needs the loss by Green Bay to get into that number 1 seed there. So it's something to keep an eye on. It's hard to do a full game here. This is one where I would be betting the first half or maybe live betting, because depending on what's happening in the other games, they'll pull their starters out, right away. So it's something to really keep an eye on. It's hard to bet the full game in a scenario like this.
No, we're really going to be able to go over this on Thursday and also Sunday morning on the show. There are a lot of fantastic first half looks, and also if you're a live bettor, opportunities in the second half. We'll go over a lot of that when we have some extra time on Thursday and Sunday. But it's a great point that you do bring up specifically in this game. They will be scoreboard watching, but in the first half, they're not going to be scoreboard watching. They know they will be playing at least one full half, and presumably they're going into the game to play a full 4 quarters. But we know what we're going to get in the first half. It might get tricky in the second half, and what Kyle's basically saying is don't get left with the bag. Don't get left with New Orleans up 14 points and going, we don't even really need this game now anyway, and let's sit Drew Brees, let's sit Alvin Kamara, and here come the Carolina Panthers, not to win the game, but make it close and you blow your cover, when in the first half you had that sealed up at the half. So something certainly to keep an eye on. Quickly here on this one also, 115-116, the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. It's a game. We have to cover it. Both teams are abysmal. And I have to say right now, the Jets are a better football team and a much better football team than the New England Patriots, because we're getting the same song and dance again. Bill Belichick sitting there at his press conference still with his hoodie on and his mask. He's just oblivious to what's going on, but the same monotone voice came out, Kyle. Cam Newton going to be a starter week 17. And immediately I look up and be like, they can't score. Give me the Jets.
Yep. Jets, Jets. I've been taking the pain and they've been letting it pay off. I'm taking the Jets again. No Stephon Gilmore. You see the real holes in that secondary when they don't have Stephon Gilmore. No pass rush to speak of. And hey, the Jets know we're getting the second pick in the draft. They've already blown it for the number 1 pick. Adam Gase wants to apparently prove something, even though he's going to be fired. So yeah, you got to take the Jets.
Keep it moving here. Again, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that game. And, we'll talk about it more Thursday and Sunday. Same thing with this next one, 117-118, Minnesota and Detroit. Two teams dead on arrival. Detroit just a little bit more dead, if that makes sense. Maybe a Matthew Stafford send-off. But, dude, he couldn't finish last week with a sprained ankle. You're going to run back out. But we know he is a bionic individual that no matter what happens, he will be out there. So I expect him to start, but I don't expect much resistance. Last week, you looked at a team that quit with Detroit. So, again, both of these teams have U-Haul trucks pulling up at their facility, but I think the U-Haul trucks already left for Detroit. That performance versus Tampa Bay was embarrassing. So I'm led to believe they're going to be excited for this weekend's game. No shot here. Only way I'm looking is Minnesota.
Yeah, and we don't really exactly know what the line is yet. Looks like they're trying to figure out who the quarterback for Detroit's going to be, but there's no way you can lay a dime on the Detroit Lions. You're right. They've given up. I know they were without their coaching staff, et cetera, but that team is absolutely packed it in. So depending on where it ends up, I mean, of course, I won't even touch this game. I'll be so far away from this game, it's not even funny. But the only side you can make a reasonable argument for is Minnesota.
It's so I love Week 17. There's so many nuances that change hourly, where if you're not living on Twitter, you're really missing out on numbers and key information that you can get after. Because this game is actually interesting when I didn't think it would be. 119-120, Atlanta and Tampa Bay. You see the line opens up at 4.5, goes to 6.5. You're scratching your head like, wait, Tampa Bay's in, but really can't improve their positioning in the NFC. You see Atlanta just playing hard each and every week, but just not a lot to go over the hump. You see Atlanta again. Julio Jones might play this week, which is always one of my favorite riddles to try to figure out what the hell they even want him back for at this point and why they aren't cutting him in the offseason anyway. Once an unbelievably dominant wide receiver that makes so much money and plays like a quarter of the snaps every single year, you got to go in a different direction, probably quarterback and wide receiver in Atlanta. But looking at this game, why does Tampa Bay want this game, need this game? They're an old football team, right, with Tom Brady. Rest them up. Get them ready for the playoffs. Don't get anybody injured. Not so fast here, because if you're playing chess and not checkers, they win this game. You know who they get, Kyle? The NFC East winner in their first game, and that's exactly what they want, because whether or not it's the Dallas Cowboys, if it's the New York Giants or the Washington football team, they're going to run roughshod on them, and they want that easy victory before they have to start playing real football.
Absolutely. And this team is, let's not kid ourselves. Bruce Arians even said it. We are playing and preparing like this is a must win, because it kind of is. Tampa Bay isn't great against good teams. So now you get the gift of the NFC East, which is the best matchup anywhere in the playoffs, and it hopefully gives them a week to get Ronald Jones, a few carries with that pinky injury he's got. He talked about that as well, getting that running game going and getting into rhythm, because they're still figuring it out in Tampa Bay. It was a nice showing in the first half there against Detroit, but I mean, Detroit's defense is so bad, it's hard to really gauge that. They'd like to be rolling, and the best point of all this is they want that NFC East opponent. So you got to like Tampa Bay here. I do think they win this game by a touchdown. Atlanta's been good. They've been good for us covering the other way. They've actually played much tougher, but I do expect Tampa Bay to get it done this week. Big game for them, setting up a guaranteed second round. It's basically a first-round bye when you get to play the NFC East opponent. So you got to like the Buccaneers here.
Yep, 121-122, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Baltimore is, it's my word of the last 2 weeks, Baltimore will detonate the Cincinnati Bengals. But Kyle, they beat the Steelers in Houston. This is a freight train coming to town that is going to paste you on your back and head into the playoffs. This isn't a Baltimore team that can afford to lollygag in this one. We already got the playoffs wrapped up. Maybe we get the 3 seed. No. You got to win to get in. They are going to pace the Cincinnati team the same way they've done to these opponents the past couple weeks here. That running game is cranked up. Lamar Jackson is completely healthy. You might get both starting cornerbacks back this week and another week of Calais Campbell trying to get that calf right. This team has the ability to bully bad football teams. I think they bully Cincinnati 31-13 final.
Yep, I completely agree. They're finally healthy. And when both of those defensive tackles are healthy, Campbell and Brandon Williams, this is a different team, especially you talked about Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters, etc. Cincinnati is going to get boat race in this game. Must win for Baltimore. I won't waste everyone's time on this. Give me the Baltimore Ravens, and they should do it pretty damn easily.
Taking a look at PointsBet here in New Jersey, official line now comes up Buffalo Bills -1 in their tussle with the Miami Dolphins. I've been waiting all day because now that we've been on a show for the past, roughly an hour, I'm waiting to see a press conference because you get a lot of information out of the head coach. I haven't seen it come across my timeline yet for Buffalo, but I did put out something a little bit earlier today, which came from last night's game. I was under the impression Buffalo would still be able to go. But normally a coach in an organization's mind was already made up previous week. Hey, coach, if we win against New England, we're going to go and we're going to try to take Miami apart and head into the playoffs hot. But that word got sort of bungled, per se, in that press conference where Sean McDermott's like, I got to get with my GM, which is code for I already got with my GM, and we're probably going to rest guys because we don't think regardless Pittsburgh can win that game versus Cleveland. So we're not going to run our guys out there knowing they're going to lose and we'll already get the 2 seed anyway. That's why you're seeing that line drop, which was 1 before the game last night. You saw how good Buffalo is. That line goes to 4.5 and 5 and now resets itself at -1. So with the thinking in this game, Kyle, Buffalo is not going to go full tilt in this game, which leads you over to what we're going to get out of the Miami Dolphins, who, again, they're still going to have to play hard regardless to win this, being the Dolphins. Yeah. But when we talked about, and we'll do it again Thursday and Sunday, if I'm going to look at this game and I'm the Buffalo team, I might treat it like a preseason game then. Let's get our starters in there for a half of work and get out, which I think Buffalo will still have the lead at the half. That's the way I would approach this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And right now, Sean McDermott is saying Cole Beasley week to week. That's basically all we're getting. I think that injury is going to push them over the edge a little bit as well. Like, okay, we don't care. Pittsburgh doesn't care about the 2 seed. We already know we can beat Pittsburgh no matter what field we play them on if we face each other in the second round. So Miami, a lot to play for here. Again, we got to wait till later in the week to know exactly what Buffalo is going to do, but you got to go with the team playing for their playoff lives. Again, they don't need to lose to get a better draft pick. They're getting a top 6 pick anyways in the draft, possibly top 3 or 4. So you got to go with the Dolphins right now if Buffalo indeed does take their foot off the gas and rest their starters.
Yeah, the Dolphins aren't going to be able to back into the playoffs here either. Those teams that need the victories, they're going to pummel those weak opponents. You want to say Miami has a tough shot, but they're actually getting a break, as we talked about earlier with Larry, where there is no second bye. If there was a second bye, that line might be 10.5 Buffalo Bills because they would go in there and blow the doors off the Miami Dolphins to get that bye. Now you're looking at a little bit from, those rosy-colored glasses to try to make a case for each one of those teams, but it'll be interesting to see what Buffalo does as they come down the road, because you're right. How much home field advantage do you need? But if they do win, let's just say Pittsburgh wins the football game against Cleveland. Well, and then Buffalo loses, and then they don't get that 2 seed. They're home this week, the Buffalo Bills. They would be home again next week. You know where they would be home again the following week? Yep, right back in Buffalo. So you would be home for technically, Kyle, a full month before you had to get on that charter out to Kansas City. That's where you want to be, a rested team at home before going in there. It would be interesting because if they lose this game and Pittsburgh wins by some miracle, that would mean that you're going to have to go on the road and then on the road again if those seeds hold up. So an interesting caveat here for the Bills. And the Bills are hot. The one thing you don't want to cool down is a team that's playing extremely well. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, I feel like, whew, thank God, we actually had a good game. Let's not have a clunker here and get down and lose to Cleveland. We still have those good vibes going in. Buffalo is humming on offense. I would hate to see them go, you know what? Josh Allen, we're going to sit this one out. And then when you get to the playoffs, and if you're struggling in game 1, everybody comes back and beats your head in as a coach saying, how could you? They'll second guess the hell out of you. Why did you sit your hot football team down with your young quarterback that's not used to winning playoff games here? That's what the question's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And another thing to watch out for is John Brown should return this week, and he's a really big piece of that off. When he's healthy, you give them that burner on the other side opposite Stephon Diggs. So now the other team can't roll all their coverage to Stephon Diggs. So you probably will see. I think no matter what, of course, you won't see Cole Beasley. That'll be surprising if he touches the field. But you should at least see this Buffalo offense on the field for the first half here. Get John Brown some reps. Work on the running game a little bit, which isn't a great running game. Beat up on a divisional opponent a little bit. I will be surprised if they rest him the whole game because I do think it's important to get some reps to John Brown, Josh Allen, get that other side of the passing game working. Something to keep an eye on here. Again, hopefully we know more on Thursday. We should. And, of course, going in Sunday morning, we will. But I'll be surprised if Buffalo – I think what you said is a great point. Number one, being at home for a month. Number two, just keeping that rhythm of the offense because you could argue it's the hottest offense in the league right now. So I think those are good points. It'll be interesting to see what they do. And I'd like to see John Brown for a little bit for Buffalo, too, give him that extra speed dimension and sort of get him into game shape, get him in a rhythm.
I agree. I agree with all those points there, and also some good stuff coming in from the chat box. Eric Swells, tight end Harrison Bryant and Andrew Sendejo on the COVID-19 list. Be wary because, again, you're still having the football team. They're human beings. They're going to celebrate Christmas and the holidays with their family. If this was one of those weeks that you might be in trouble as an NFL team, this would be one of those weeks. But I would hope that, and I guess they're not smart enough to say, hey, look, the playoff teams, like forget about the teams that are out of it. They can afford to go on COVID. But these playoff teams like Cleveland, you hope that doesn't turn into an outbreak, and keep an eye on for some late week shenanigans that, again, we already saw on the Los Angeles Rams. Let's keep going down the list as we go here. Chargers and Kansas City. Kansas City does what Andy Reid does each and every time. The minute they have a bye, they rest everybody and usually get bludgeoned in that last game. Now, the question is, do you trust the Chargers, and what are you getting out of the Chargers in the last game? We know Herbert's going to come to play, but how many players are you resting as well? But when you take a look, you're still going to have starters play the majority of the football game for the Chargers and Andy Lynn. Or excuse me, for
Anthony Lynn, sure.
Anthony Lynn. Andy Reid on the other side, nobody of any meaning is going to play. But as I said again, you can't sit everybody, but you can sit both left tackles. You can sit Kelsey. You can sit Tyreek Hill. You can sit Watkins. You can sit Mahomes. You can sit the Honey Badger. You can sit Frank Clark. You see where I'm going here? You don't have to start everybody, but when you take every key component out, I can only go Chargers here. I don't think, we're looking at Kansas City. They're not going to call anything where they're going to show any part of their game plan that they want to use for the playoffs. They're going to use all backups. It's going to be extremely vanilla. I think the Chargers go in there and get this victory and cover the 3.5.
Yeah, and Andy Reid's already said it. He's not going to play any player, and he never does. It's exactly right. And Anthony Lynn, maybe in his head he's convincing himself that he's not going to be fired after just a terrible season. So he's coaching for his life. At least coaching to, put something good on tape so we can get a coordinator job next year if he does get fired. So the Chargers should win this game pretty easily. You're not going to see much of a fight from Kansas City. By the time they get to the stadium, they're already going to be ready to leave. So you got to go the Chargers here. As scary and disgusting as that sounds, you got to take the Anthony Lynn-backed LA Chargers.
Yep, 127, 128. This was an interesting game. I looked at my odds board yesterday and my outlets that I had. Could have got the 4.5 and plus 100 as a favorite for the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers. And I was like, you know what? A lot of people play this game, and this is the way they grade themselves on college. Just let me get the better line, and I'll deal with it later. I'm not one of those guys because I know Seattle is better than San Francisco. Trust me, I do. And now that you see, Williams going down, your star, maybe the best left tackle in all of football, Brandon Ayuk's not going to play. But there's something about Kyle Shanahan and that defense and offense that always puts you still in the moment with a chance of victory. Do I think they beat Seattle? Absolutely not. I don't. But San Francisco 49ers are not that normal team that heads into week 15, 16, and 17 every year. They were fighting like hell 2 years ago when they were bad with all backups and still were able to put together a semblance of a football team. I still think Seattle wins. I still think Seattle covers, but I'm not the guy because I could have got the 4.5, which now you're seeing 5.5 across the board. And there are gamblers that tell you it doesn't matter if it wins or loses as long as you got the best line. I don't subscribe to that theory. I need it to be perfect. I'm waiting for the rest of the week to see what I get because you know what? If San Francisco goes, hey, George, we let you come back last week, being George Kittle, the tight end, you looked awesome. Let's give you the week off and head into the offseason with those good vibes. You came back, you got a good game in, and let's set it off into the sunset. Because if that's the case, then I'm looking towards obviously Seattle. But if that's not the case, look at the score that Seattle's playing under the past couple weeks. That offense isn't annihilating teams like when Russ was cooking earlier in the season. I can see this one of those games like, hey, we're playing really good for Seattle. Let's make a couple plays on offense. And this is a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. That, again, Seattle wins. But if I'm betting this game, I want to know Seattle has a chance to blow San Francisco out. And I don't know if that's the case until I see who gets to the starting line on the weekend, Kyle.
Exactly. And this is another spot here where they're going to be looking up, seeing what Green Bay's doing, seeing what New Orleans is doing. And so, again, if Green Bay is punting the Bears, all these teams are playing at the same time, and they know they have no shot at the 1 seed. They're not going to risk Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf's already a little dinged up. Tyler Lockett always gets hurt, and he can be hit hard. So they're going to be careful. So it's another one where it's hard, like you said, being caught with the bag. Hey, they look great in the first half. They're dominating. Oh, you look up, Green Bay's up by 4 touchdowns. Russell Wilson's on the bench. We're sitting
Yep.
everybody now. And the 49ers make a run here. They're just having some fun to finish off a long year. They're not even in San Francisco. They're in Arizona. So it's a tough one. It's a live bet spot or it's a first half spot, just like we talked about there
Yep.
with New Orleans. That's just the way I
No,
see it.
what's interesting with the first half spot, which is tough because there's not a better first quarter team basically in football than San Francisco because Kyle Shanahan has the golden script on his right hand that says these 10 plays will guarantee 7 points in the first quarter. That's the only reason why I draw back because I agree with you. Seattle's going to go hard in the first half thinking they can still get that 1 seed, but I always look at Shanahan's first couple possessions and be like, damn, these guys are wide open all over the place. Now, it doesn't go on throughout the rest of the game, but he is the master of disaster of the scripted plays along with Andy Reid. So something to keep an eye on this one. 129-130, a horrendous game here. Las Vegas going to go on the road to play Denver. Line is 2.5 across the board, over under 51.5. I like to look at this game and say, what the hell do these two teams even have in common here but to just throw it all over the place, have fun, try to get your quarterback some statistics and get out of town. And then I'll take Denver's team total, which I didn't for the past couple. I escaped early in the season with an Atlantic team where Denver somehow got the team total in the fourth quarter, and we'll all be going like this. Jesus Christ, Drew Lock, what are you doing? Yeah. It happens every game. It happened last game. It's almost fun because now that I haven't bet the Denver Broncos in a while, I just see the nonsense that goes on. It's like, I'm never putting myself through that again. But Jesus Christ, Drew Lock will appear in this game, and I don't want any parts of it.
Yeah, and you're also going to get, 4th and 1 from the Raiders' 41-yard line, and Vic Fangio will punt the football away for just no godly reason whatsoever. I've gone through the Broncos' pain as well. Look, we've gone back and forth with the Raiders all year. We hated them early, then we jumped on them a little bit in the middle here, and then they turned into what we thought they were going to be. But this one, I'm going to take the better coach, and even though I'm not a big Derek Carr guy, I think he's a better quarterback than Drew Lock. So I guess I would lean the Raiders. I'll be running for the hills here. The only way I'm on this game is if I've had a disastrous morning and maybe I've got to try something desperate and I throw a Hail Mary and bet on the Raiders. But both these teams stink. I want no part of either team, but I got to take the Raiders right now. You just cannot trust the Denver Broncos. Can't do it.
And by the way, some other interesting news in the NFL. Thomas Davis, the linebacker for the Washington Redskins, announced he will retire at the end of the year. I thought he retired 4 years ago, so I don't know why there's some big thing like, hey, congratulations and see you later at this point. That guy's been retired for a long time. Last game we'll talk about is maybe the most interesting one. And if you like pain and you like stuff where you bet a game, you're like, why did I do this to myself? Sign up for this one. Playoff implications, and nobody is available to play. Somebody's got to win this game. Somebody's going to get into the playoffs, and it's a shame because you looked at a team like the Rams that would have been fun to watch in the playoffs, could have done some damage. Let's go over the tail of the tape here. Jared Goff, who I already can't stand, he's going to miss this game. So immediately my wheels turn in my head like, ooh, Jared Goff's out. How can I take the Rams? But then I look at a guy who doesn't have any career snaps basically in the NFL. Yeah, he played in college for 4 years and AFL and, wherever the hell he was playing. It's not the NFL and it's not a pressure cooker like you would have in week 17 where win and we get in. So I say, all right, well, what's he got around him? Really good offensive line who'll have some running backs. He's not going to – Malcolm Brown is the only running back left standing. Both of those guys, either Henderson is already out, and I doubt that a high ankle sprain from Cam Akers a week ago is going to come back into this football game, which leaves non-explosive Malcolm Brown. So you say, all right, wide receiving core can do some things, help out this young kid, get him on the roll like we do see Sean McVay call those rollouts left and right. Cooper Kupp wide open all day long, right? He's probably not going to be there now being on the COVID list. So it leaves you with a couple good wideouts, a guy who's never started. Say, hey, Arizona, pathway to victory. Well, you still have a legitimate Rams defense on the other side. If Kyler Murray was 100%, he can mess around with that Rams defense. But it looked like somebody hit him with a sniper bullet to end the game last week on his leg, which is the reason why he makes his money in the NFL. So if you're going to start Kyler Murray, who can't get away in a pass rush that the Rams are going to have, then you put in Strevler, who, again, no snaps in the NFL. What are you getting out of him? The line sits at -1 with the Rams at home. It's so great. Like the NFL season is going to end with a game this painful that means so much. That's fantastic.
It's crazy. I love it. I love it. And it's two teams I despise because they're both in the NFC West. So I just get to watch one of their playoff hopes dashed. The other one stumble in and then get smoked in the first round if they're not healthy. Like Kyler Murray healthy, I think he could do some damage. The problem is Arizona's defense also stinks. I mean, that defense is god awful. It is so bad, and the Rams defense is so good. So it's sort of sad for the Rams. I'm going to lean the Rams right here. I mean, will I have any money on this game? Probably not. Maybe I'll take a painful team total. I'll see what those are later in the week. I might talk myself into it to have some fun, and maybe we'll do a official show bet on Sunday with the 9.5 Rams team total or something insane like that, 11.5, whatever the hell they make it. But I'll just give the advantage to the Rams defense. Cliff Kingsbury's still saying he's hopeful that Kyler Murray could play. We really got to see how all that plays out. If Kyler Murray plays and can move around, of course you lean Arizona. But if it's Strevler versus Wolford, give me the better defense and give me the Rams.
I want to say also, I think this Rob Hassel says, who's in if Cards win, Bears win, who's out? I think if the Cardinals win, they're in, and the Bears win, they're in, and the Rams get left out. I believe that's true, correct?
That's Bears win the tiebreaker over Arizona. Arizona would then have the tiebreaker over the Rams. So, the Rams would be left out if both the Bears and Arizona wins.
Because the Bears actually lost to the Rams early in the season, but as it plays out there with that three-way tie, it's the same thing you're looking at for the top of the NFC going, wait a second, how can like one of these wins against head-to-head nullify when you go to a three-team, round robin, so to speak, the head-to-head win doesn't matter unless everybody's played each other, and they haven't. So that's how it's going to end up there. But what a wild week to spend with us here on sportsbookreview.com. We'll be back on New Year's Eve on Thursday. Maybe we'll be able to read the tea leaves a little bit better about who's in and who's out as we head down the stretch here. But an awesome week to be with us here at sportsbookreview.com. We'll also be back on Sunday for the closing line as well. Fun stuff. Thank you guys for chiming in, hitting those thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do so. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com. This was your opening lines episode for week 17. Good luck, guys.